Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the All I Do Is Win podcast. Let's put our hands together for a round of applause for this episode. Listen, man, I don't know why, but I just love like the round of applause. I don't know if it's the speaker in me or the Harlem in me. I don't know, but it's like I just love to see that energy, man. But
Prez does too. Apparently, he's clapping harder now.
that's yeah.
The guy behind the couch.
The room was filled. The room was filled with applause. But listen, I'm really looking forward to today's talk. If this is your first time with us, I am the host, Terrence Jones, the director of academic enrichment here at Pierce College, and I'm gonna pass it to my left, your right, and you can tell me, who you are.
What's going on? Stewart, Pradia. I'm the head men's basketball coach at Rutgers University, Camden. Originally from Houston, Texas, though.
My name is Anthony Jones. I am instructor at Rutgers University, New Brunswick, also a PhD student as well, and proud father of two boys and one girl.
Excellent. And listen, so this is our second time in this space. Do you feel like we found our cove? Like, what do y'all think? You think we need to?
I'm real comfortable.
I didn't get the memo for the glasses, but next time.
Oh yeah.
I just. Nah, y'all was looking a little fly. I was like, I gotta do something.
How about this? I'll balance it out and I'll take mine off.
I gotta do something.
But if I read something wrong, charge it to my eyes right now. I'll put it back on.
Put it back on.
Nah, but listen. I'm really looking forward to today's talk. I'm gonna be completely transparent. I think this talk would have been a good talk to have a feminine voice to join us with, because I think and we just might do that. We might get someone for the next one.
That's good.
Or one of the ones to follow, one or two. But I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of different aspects when we talk about success. When we talk about student success, there's a lot of different elements to a person, right? Like, we understand that a person is mind, body, soul, and spirit. And a lot of times I think we can focus on the mind, we can focus on the body, but the soulish areas is a lot of times where we end up missing the mark in academia. And I believe that the soul is where a lot of our relationships live. When we think of someone who's really doing well, someone who's really thriving relationally, oftentimes that's connected to like their soul being pulled in a certain direction. Like, I don't know why I can't get this person out of my mind, or even if I'm doing poorly academically, I feel full when I'm around these people, so I have to be around this person or this group of people. And I think one of the things that we want to begin to unpack, even in academic spaces, is how do we support not just ourselves, but our students in healthy relationships, right? So I think this is going to have a lot of good pathways for us to talk on a few different levels. So this is not going to be a one episode situation. This is going to have to turn into like a series kind of a talk. And we'll see what that looks like. But today we're going to talk about situationships versus success. Which one costs more? I'm going to say that again. Situations versus success. Which one costs more? And the way that we're talking about this is through this one particular lane. Now, I'm sure, once again, I fully believe that we could I feel like this could be a book, actually.
Yeah.
I feel like it could be a book. There's so many different aspects of this that can be unpacked. But I'm thinking of a student, and actually a few students who had a similar narrative where they were working in school, trying to be good successfully. And I'm thinking of one student right now who was a nursing student. Nursing students had so much demand on them academically that they really didn't have time and don't have time to do much else other than nursing. Like, if you're choosing that field or a field that's aligned with that, books is your number one, books is your number two, and books is your number three, then everything else after those three, right? And I don't know, when it comes down to how different people have found to be successful in pursuit of those degrees, but the ones who were the most focused always got the best grades, right? And the ones who were the most focused were the ones who you saw like thrive in that, regardless of the outside situations. Because I've had students who were traditional students who were going to get their degree, but then I also had students who were non-traditional and they had kids already and was working and was still going to get this degree, and they found a way to be successful. But there was a constant thread in those students who were not successful. And oftentimes those were the ones who were navigating a lot of other spaces as well. They were hanging out with their friends. They were going out to the parties, or they had a significant other, but the relationship was a little tumultuous and it was draining their essence and mental capacity to fully be present for the book. So when it came time to actually show up for a test or a practicum or whatever it was that they had to do, now they're not fully present or they're not fully prepared, and then they end up struggling and barely getting past, and sometimes not making it, right? So I kind of want us to begin talking from that lens, right? Like when we talk about the the relationships or the engagements that we have as people, how much should we be focused on the long term versus these short term relationships that won't even last anyway?
I mean, I think in most things in life, balance is probably the most important thing. And just the situations that you're talking about,
Yeah.
Especially in college, right, where you're learning about yourself. You're learning. We talked about it before. A big part of that education are your social skills. I think about it as a coach. Student athletes as a whole make better grades than non-student athletes, and I think at least in part. I know for like Division I, it's because they control every aspect of their life and they have to do things at a certain time. So they don't develop those skills as much. And I think in the long run, a lot of those kids sometimes end up having to figure that out in their own lives. But I know for Division III, basically you just got to figure out like how to get your work in and how to get practice in. And I'm figuring out how to fit everything in around this basketball thing or whatever sport you're playing. So balance is what I would really emphasize, especially when it comes to time management. I think there's some basic things that you probably learn in college. Time management has to be one of them because we think, I mean, y'all raising kids. I don't have any kids, but I can't even imagine having to coordinate all those schedules and just the craziness that ensues with trying to get a 5-year-old to get dressed on time. I don't envy you guys at all. But I would just say balance and time management would be the big things that I would point to.
Yeah, but I think it's similar. I was going to say with Stu. I mean, Stu, even as a coach, you're trying to get students to execute a particular play, make sure that you're on time. So I think it's the same skill set, right?
Yeah.
But I do think to Terrence's point, do I answer this question as a 18-year-old, 19-year-old coming into college or someone now in my early 40s?
Right.
It's different.
Right.
Right? Like I've had to go through the process of learning how to manage the time, especially when, you're coming maybe straight out of high school. To Stu's point, your environment was pretty much controlled. Right? You got to show up at 7, the bell rings, 7:30, you get out at 3, you might have some sports and stuff, you might have a little bit of time afterwards to speak to the girl and stuff like that. But for the most part, everything was still, and then you got to still go home, your parents, right? But, if you were privileged enough to be able to go away to college, then, and live in a dorm, I mean, all of the atmosphere, you got, so I think for me, to Stu's point, the hardest thing, honestly, for me was to discipline myself on the goal at hand. Because entering college, to be honest with you, the academics at first was not the goal. Just wasn't the goal. You know what I mean? So I think, right, like if the goal for academics is number 3 or 4, you're not gonna make it.
It's funny you mentioned that, and I think back. Usually when I'm talking to my players about stuff, and I always think, all right, did I make that decision when I was his age?
Right.
And when you bring that up, I'm thinking, I was like, no, my first semester of college was a little different. I didn't like bomb it all the way, but it was very much like, ooh, what's this over? Like, oh, they got this going, and. I mean, I was I guess a strong enough student to like figure it out, but I knew kids that like kind of like washed out because they weren't figuring the balance of it all out. So it's some trial and error in there for sure. No, that's a good point.
But I think even from what you mentioned, Ant, there's a certain variance between how you show up in this type of a conversation from someone who's a traditional student, 17 to 22, versus someone who's a non-traditional student, anywhere above that, different place of life where you're a professional in some kind of a way, working or have kids, one or some, and are figuring that out among life and adulting type issues like paying a mortgage, managing a car, being a thought leader in some type of a workspace, and just making everything work, right? And one thing that I think is really tough for us to really imagine and picture is the fact that we create and fuel situationships on both sides of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
I think that from a traditional perspective, and this is the idea, I want to hear your thoughts on this, when you're young, you're looking for sources. It's almost like, oh wow, that feeds me, that fuels me, that gives me, that gives me life. We've heard that kind of a saying before, right? When you're older, there's things that's looking for you to give it life. So you're now responsible for things, or you're connected to be a resource to things. And then your goals often get put to the back, not because you're not busy, but you're not busy on what's important to your success. You're helping other people sustain their life, their success in some kind of a way. So how do we begin to unpack that, right? Like being able to draw the line between how much we do for others as adults or how much we're looking for others to do and be for us. So I end up making the poor decisions because I feel like even if I didn't spend enough time working, I'm going to check my DMs at 11 o'clock at night because now I'm lonely.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's good.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah, this was a question that caught. This is a lot. This is a lot. I think I've encountered this in my professional life, but also my interpersonal and romantic life. I think those would probably be the three major categories for all of us. In my professional life, I've kind of built maybe three categories for people who just don't like me, maybe. There are people who I'm cool with, but maybe don't see me in the way professionally that I would want. And this is within my professional space. And then there are people that I know both I get along with, like I'm close with, and they would pick up the phone and help me.
Wait, so Stu, you got ops?
I mean, I figure we all do in some form or fashion. They're not really important. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, all right.
No,
I've learned something
he
new.
said, no weapon formed, against me shall prosper.
Okay.
But they gonna form. They just not gonna prosper. You know what I'm saying?
I like
you know what I mean?
that.
So,
I like that. Yes.
If I do, pray for them anyway. God bless them.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But for me, I started to try and cultivate relationships of people that maybe I was cool with, but they didn't see. And this, like, again, within my profession, let me try and, get these people to people that see me in both of those ways, because I think is it beneficial? Sure, like networking and things like that, like we have to do it, but I think if you do it with the intention of like meeting like-minded people, that if we took the professional part out of it, right, like would I still want to spend time with this person? And can I still have a good time with this person? Are we aligned on certain things?
That's good.
I think those are probably, as I get older, somebody asked me the other day, like, what are you looking for? And before I would have told you, like, oh, I want to coach at this school and this. But for me, it was more about quality of life and like a healthy environment of where I can grow and learn in a professional space.
I like that.
Socially, it's probably a little easier. Like you just, you're looking for people to have a good time with, but it's also like the longevity of it. Like I've got friends that I've known at this point, like as we get older, 20, 30 years, and we may not see each other as often because we don't live in the same cities or whatever, but social media has actually helped that a lot, at least with me. Like it's funny, like it's social media. Like we should be interacting with people, and so trying to curate your timeline so you're not getting a bunch of riffraff, but also like engaging with friends. And then, as you guys probably know, like, romantically, it's that balance of, serving your partner, but also making sure to find a partner that is also giving back to you. And like we were talking about before, a lot of this is trial and error. Like you got to go through some hurt. You got to go through some rough stuff and the thing is, you got to learn from it. You can't just be taking L's and, getting hit across your head. And
Wait, you got to say that last part again. You got to what?
yeah, you got to learn from it. Like
Yeah.
it's no, what is it? No losses, only lessons.
That's
And
wisdom, right?
You
yeah,
dropping bars today, man.
Right.
I think Jay Z
You
said
got
it.
that. I
but
think you 2 for 2 right now.
am I?
Let's go. Let's
Okay,
go.
all right. Listen, my pastor actually did a sermon about it. Shout out to Pastor Ern at Accelerate Church. But he did a sermon this Sunday. He started. It's called Love Island, and he was talking about like toxic relationships. And it wasn't just romantic ones. It was also like social relationships, like you're talking about, like pouring into somebody. You typing out your heartfelt message, and this person gives you an emoji back, or like, oh, that's crazy, or and he did a really good job of covering a lot of those things, talking about red flags and stuff, but also not abusing it, right? Like we like to say certain things and use certain terms out of context to avoid responsibility, you know what I mean, and avoid our own decisions. So
That's good, Stu. That's a message in itself.
listen, I hope I'm
you
feeling.
lit.
I got what you saying. I just those
I
are probably
see
my
emojis in my head like flame. What you got on that, Ant?
So
Nah, I think Stu is spot on. I think when you're talking about healthy relationships, and also going back to your point, T, which is you want to be healthy physically, right? Stu's drinking water, right? You want to be healthy mentally, right? You want to be able to pick up a book, hopefully read, meditate, and spiritually, right? You want to be able to find that time to really get to know yourself, right? So I think when it comes to students, a lot of times, right? Like when you're younger, and I'll just speak for myself, is that I was moving at 160 miles per hour, right? I didn't know how to slow down to really look at the future. And I think what Stu just mentioned is really important, is that you got to really reflect on the mistakes that you make, own them, and then do better, right? And I think that's something that can be really difficult, not just for the traditional maybe age student, but as adults as well, right? You have to be able to build anything healthy. You have to recognize that you play a part in it.
yeah,
In any relationship, at work, right? We're very quick in the culture that we live in. It's always the other person's fault. So I think I think for me, it's really that inner reflection and that inner work that a lot of times people don't want to do, right?
Yeah. When you talk about work and people not wanting to do it, I think it plays out a lot of times in all these areas. Like Stu was mentioning, the link between relationships and academic pursuits. But this question that came to me, I want to hear you guys' thoughts on it. Would you say, because nowadays they say that men in general are scared of commitment. That's why there's less successful relationships, or relationships that don't get out of the situationship phase, is because the man is scared of commitment. But would you say that the fear of commitment in relationships looks like the way a lot of students are scared to commit academically?
I would say the lack of commitment for like relationship stuff, it's kind of threefold. I think there's more options, and they're easier to access. I think in a lot of ways we've become selfish in a lot of ways, and so we're thinking of ourselves first, but then also our resilience, I think, the bar for that has lowered. So when you relate that to academia, I think what happens is I see it in sports where a lot of times I'm the first person to tell this kid, nah, that's not good enough.
That's good.
That's
right.
not, and you look at, I'm a Division III basketball coach. You listen to Nick Saban or big time college basketball coaches.
Absolutely.
We'll talk about, Don Staley said the same thing. It's like, your parents don't want to see you fail.
Right.
And
right.
so you look at a generation or generations of young people that I think probably some of that is scientific, like in human nature. It's like, oh, if this is a rough path, it's probably not the one I'm supposed to be on. Like we want things to be easy because things have been easy traditionally. And I think, with school, like I talk to my kids all the time, school's a safe place, right? Like you were talking about it earlier. when you're in elementary school, middle school, high school, things are relatively linear, where it's like, all right, I go from 6th grade, 7th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. College is a little different because you got a few more pathways, but it's still relatively safe and linear. But when you get out into the real world, as we know, I liken like basketball to, you working on that thing every day, and you don't necessarily see any return from it, but that's part of the process when we get into the real world and life. So I would say, I know for me personally, and I don't want to talk too much, but I had I'll never forget this. I had 2 situations, career paths, and the one I chose ended up being really rough. But I wouldn't be sitting here if I hadn't taken that path. Whereas the other one, it probably would have been a little bit more cushy, but I'd be in the middle of nowhere, if I'm being honest. Literally like in the middle of nowhere in the Northeast. And so to me, it taught me like, oh, like, yeah, that was a rough path, but like it was necessary to go there. And so I think when you're thinking about academia, like you can't be afraid of hard stuff. You can't be afraid of failure. And when you do fail, because inevitably we all do, or something gets hard, like how do you respond to that? So I would.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I took notes. So you said 3 things that connected, that sparked from the relationship side.
Yeah.
The first was more options.
Yeah.
The second was ease of access. And then the third was resilience. And then you paired that with the educational side, the academic pursuit, and it's literally the same thing.
Yeah.
Where resilience is seen when students hit a hard road.
Absolutely.
Now I don't want to pursue this field anymore because I'm failing, or I have to study differently.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I think I've always had conversations with my students about, is that there's a difference between persistence and consistency.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
Consistency, a lot of times we'll celebrate, oh, I've been consistent. But persistence is really the mark of someone who's a student, who's on a journey of success, really in any area of life, because persistence is when you do whatever the heck I got to do to get the outcome that I want to see. Consistency is just, oh, I've done the same thing over and 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 over, so now I deserve the prize. Nah.
You can be consistently bad.
Come on. Like, that was a much quicker way to say it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
But you can also be consistently good.
Yeah, for sure.
And still not grow.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Right.
There it is.
That perseverance.
No,
Okay.
no, wait a second. No.
Wait, I want to ask you. It just hit me. It just hit me.
His bar.
No. It hit me.
He said, "I'm the only one dropping."
No. Hold on, because I got a pushback.
Okay.
Tell me. Give me a situation where you're consistently good at something, but you're not growing.
So I think it could be in your we talking relationships, right? You can be consistently a good husband, a good father, right? Because you're on autopilot, right? Valentine's Day, you go to church every week, you take your kids to school,
Comfort.
right? Comfort.
You get comfortable.
Okay. But you're not
Checking off the list.
right.
Okay.
This is what I'm
Every
supposed to
single day.
do, right?
Okay.
That's
Never
the
a challenge.
consistency.
Okay.
Never challenge. Right.
Yeah.
You don't. It's the gym, right? You on the outside you look good, but on the inside you're not pushing
I like that.
yourself. And I think, Stu, you brought up something which I like too, is that I think the culture we're in is too controlled, right? So if we use the sports metaphor, like me and Terrence talk about it, our kids are in the suburbs, right? When I was growing up in New York, I would have to dribble between people. My backboard was the sign, right? Or, if I hit the wrong rock, the ball could go across right? My son is straight in the gym.
Right.
It's controlled. So my thing as a father, to keep him growing, he's consistently good in the gym. But if I take him outside of the gym and in a different environment, would he be as, I'm going to say no, because he's not used to that.
You're right.
He's used to everything just being
Right.
clean, right? He hasn't had to play on dirt, right? So I think that's where I say consistently good, is that sometimes people pat themselves on the back.
That's good.
The perseverance. I think the definition of perseverance is like the existence of adversity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're persevering like through something. No, I'm with y'all. I appreciate it. Yeah.
And I
That's
think
really
that's
good.
and I think that's healthy relationships. I think you were even talking about that too, right? I think sometimes we get comfortable with our family members, right? But we all know, and I'm looking directly at the camera. You know who you are. You're not growing. You know what I'm saying? You got family members that if you call them up 10 years from now, they're gonna be in the same situation
Yeah.
because they're not growing, because they're not, they're in an environment where, you could tell them 100 times, but they have to get out of that comfort zone, right? And it's not healthy, right? But they don't see it as not being healthy.
But I think time is a factor in just how we look at all of these things, right? Because one of the things that I think motivate me to keep pushing forward and to continue growing and not just being satisfied with the list that has all the check marks on it that says, oh, I got all the things I wanted to do done today. But it's like, where did I grow today? Where did something get added that was never on my radar, but I still knocked it out the park? But time is the great common denominator for me because I don't know how much time I have. Like we almost live as if we have this unforeseeable, unexpected pursuit of life that never ends. Like we all have an end date. And I think a lot of times, like especially when we're talking about relationships and the way that we give time to relationships, like my time is too valuable to be pouring in and locking arms with people who aren't even going to be relevant 6 months from now, 6 weeks from now, sometimes 6 days from now. And at the end of the day, because time is also so critical, I also have a certain amount of time to accomplish whatever I'm going to be able to curate to say, this is the soundtrack of my life. This is the portfolio of what my life was able to produce in the time that I was here. And now the world can continue to go forward and step on those platforms of success or failure, whatever, like just the full blueprint of whatever it was I was able to create. And I think a lot of times us as individuals, we don't live as if there's a legacy. What I think is interesting and funny is that even when I said that, I thought of Mike Tyson. I don't know if any of you seen this clip, but if you Google it, there's this clip where a young girl, a little kid goes up to Mike and is like, hey, Mike, so tell us, what do you think about your legacy and what this fight is going to do for your legacy? And he was like, what's a legacy? Like, after I'm dead, I'm just dead. I'm just gone. Like, no one cares about me once I'm gone. Like, legacy means nothing. Like, what would you care about if you're not here anymore? You're dead. Like, it was really dark.
It was a little kid, bro. But she was super professional. It was great.
And he doubled down on it. He went strong, and then he even went stronger and even made like some strong claims. You got to Google it and look it up if you haven't seen it before. But at the end of the day, like, separate from what he said, there might be some people who feel the same way, like my legacy means nothing. But what I heard more than that was brokenness. I heard isolated thought life. I heard like there's no one who you look up to and there's no one who you're looking to pour into. Like you couldn't even see that this child is still impressionable and they look up to you in this moment. All you saw was, I have a feeling about myself in this moment. All I can be is authentically me, as if that was the greatest good. When I really feel like he missed an even greater opportunity to pour the value systems that he had that got him to be Iron Mike Tyson, because he had to be a hard worker. He had to be resilient. He had to be a great manager of time in order to get to the place where he will never be forgotten. And Mike Tyson, whether he believes it or not, when he passes on, he will be remembered for what he did in the ring because he was great at it. And I think that's one of the things that we miss in life, is that there's something, even if we're not looking at the boxing ring, even if we don't want to have a mic or we're not a basketball player, there's some area of your life where you are called to be great. That might be in relationship. It may not be for the mass media world, but in your world, there is somewhere that you were called to be great. And it's your duty. It has to be your daily discipline to be the greatest version of yourself possible and to go further and further to the next level of greatness every single day, unrelenting, regardless of the things that come against you, persistently pushing toward the best parts of your life. So I want us to land the plane here, but if there's a message that either one of you have, this is how we close it out. a message of positivity, man. Something that can just motivate in that countercultural nuance of there's so many things, man. We could have kept this thing going longer.
Yeah. Part one.
Yeah, this is part one. Part
one.
one of a few.
I like
Part
that.
one.
But what would you say to someone listening to this who's been wrestling with the way they've been engaged in relationships, situationships, and how that's been impressing and impeding on their life?
I know for me, there was my friend Matt Augustin. I worked with him a few years ago, and he said, "Yo, go where the love is." And I thought applying that is really good because it relates, like I was talking about how my pastor, but like go places where that the energy that you're giving out, obviously make sure you're pouring out in a positive way. You're showing up consistently, in that way, but also like show up to places where that sort of energy is reciprocated. That's
Nice.
what I would say. Go where the love is.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think I was thinking more in terms of being able to just take the time to reflect back and forward on those relationships. I think you said it, T, right? Like, are those people around you? And it goes into what you were saying also just now, Stu, is that are these people going to be around in 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 years? And I think we all have an inner feeling of really.
Wait, you gave that credit to Stu?
No, in you.
All right,
I
cool.
gave,
He said you first.
All right,
actually.
all right, cool.
It was you first.
I was making sure because he was loaded up on the bar.
No, it was.
I was like, let me get one. Let me get at least one.
You did,
All
you
right,
did.
all right.
Yeah, I can repeat it, don't go loud. As my man T said, whether it be 6 days, 6 weeks, or 6 years, I think when we really look at relationships, that could be your church, it could be your school, it could be your mom, wherever you're going. I think you really have to dial in, and are these relationships mutually, beneficial, for you? And I think if they're mutually beneficial for you, then I think you can keep, pouring into it. But I think what I've learned is that sometimes we love people, places, things that don't love you back, and they're not loving you back. You gotta let it go.
Yeah.
So that would be just my advice for any student that you're pouring into. You had mentioned earlier you were pouring all this love and energy into economics. It just wasn't loving you back.
It was.
Gotta let it go.
Gotta
bro.
let it go.
Right. But we don't like to let things
I know.
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Right. We
It's
don't
tough.
like relationships go. We don't. We get comfortable. Right.
Yeah.
Family member. Sometimes you gotta let it go.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And my thought, I kind of go back to like what we spoke about in the very beginning of just like the frame of people and how we're mind, body, and soul, and we don't really cultivate our soul with the same intent that we do the others. And I really think even as we continue to think on this, and as I'm glad that we're going to have multiple sessions that's kind of like deep diving into this, that the recognition that our soul is sometimes starved can cause us to live from a deficit mindset and go anywhere to get value. So because I haven't stewarded and cultivated and saturated my soul in a healthy way, I've neglected that area. Because this gives me something or it's giving me some value, I'm going to give all of myself to this area. And I think that's why academics are sometimes a tough place for our students to really land, because they're not seeing how the work there will have soul benefits down the line. But some of the poor relationship choices have soul benefits now, which sometimes turn into deficits later on.
Yeah.
So as we
good.
continue to talk through this, unpack some things, get some other folks in on this conversation, I really look forward to just, the types of ideas, concepts that we can have just for further consideration, right, in this journey, because we're all learning, we're all growing, but we're going somewhere, and hopefully that's towards greater success. So this again was another episode of the All I Do Is Win podcast, and until next time, peace.